Hello everyone. As I said in my last video, make sure you've seen the first two parts of this series so you'll have the needed context for this video. This is the last major part of this series, and this is being recorded after the announcement of Sunbreak, so there may be some level of redundancy, but we will have to see. Anyone familiar with the Monster Hunter will well be aware of the wondrous locales full of vibrancy and wildlife, but there are a numerous amount of man-made arenas too. And the Red Stronghold in Rise is certainly no exception. In this large arena, you will fend off wave after wave of large monsters in protection of your beloved town of Komura, and the Rampage quests are a far cry from the tradition of this game series. So today, I will give an explanation as to how the Rampage works, then talk about the monsters that I previously talked about in parts 1 and 2 by predicting their roles in this setting. I'll put off any sort of outliers until the very end, so better set up some installations quick, because these monsters are aching to break in. Before I talk about monster roles, I would like to talk about how the Rampage works, due to it being different from the traditional quests. Instead of having an objective to slay, hunt, or capture the target, or even harvest for certain materials, these quests are based on a tower defense setting. The main goal is to protect the final gate and prevent it from being destroyed. Due to the main objective being different, the success and failure conditions are also different. You will fail if the final gate is destroyed, but you will not fail by fainting and returning to camp 3 times. Instead, you will only be penalized by losing a couple points. There also is no time limit for the quest, and instead the timer in the upper left corner shows how much longer you will need to survive. If the timer reaches 0 and the final gate is still standing, you will be successful. Lastly, you can complete the quest early by slaying the final major threat, which I will explain shortly. Of course, your weapons can only do so much, and it isn't the most advisable thing to rely on them until the very end of each horde. Littered throughout the stronghold are many large wooden squares, and in these spots you can set up an installation to assist you in fending off the horde. You can either place them on the walls of the stronghold to give ranged opportunities such as the ballista or cannon, but there are also spots in the ground where you can place bamboo bombs. These can be used as traps that will go off when stepped on. You can also create installations that are operated by other villagers, but you can also call in the people of Komura themselves, such as Iori, Yomogi, the Quest Maidens, and on rare occasions, Master Utsushi. Elder Fugen is also available from the start, but he and all the other people that I just mentioned can only be used once. As you progress, you will earn points and be able to level up the stronghold to upgrade installations and unlock more, such as the machine cannon and wyvern fire artillery. You'll also unlock one of the 2 super weapons depending on which layout you have. There are a total of 5 bonus objectives on the left hand side, which you can complete for more points, a higher level stronghold, and a better rank at the end, which can net more rewards. Now for the monsters themselves, which can be normally one of 2 levels and occupy 1 of 3 roles. These roles include the Stalker, which normally stays grounded and prefers to rely on close range attacks, usually attacking the hunter or villager operated installations. Then we have the Targeter, which stays airborne, mostly, and attacks from a distance, with similar targets as the Stalkers. They tend to stay out of reach of most weapons, so you can use installations to bring them down. Lastly, we have the Gate Crasher, which will ignore everything and march through the whole area until it reaches a gate, where it will only focus on that one gate. They tend to be quite bulky, so it's beyond advisable to wail on them as quickly as possible. Monsters will also be one of 2 levels, either the regular monster, which is indicated by a brown hexagon around their icon. There is also the Ruffian monster, indicated by 2 silver hexagons, who are much stronger, tougher, and resistant to blights, stuns, or other effects. Individually, they're a lot more dangerous than normal, but this is not at all what you want to see, otherwise you're in trouble. The last monster that shows up is the major threat, indicated by the golden icon. When they show up, a counter signal is fired, giving weapon attacks a massive boost in damage. Now is the time to rely on them. Well, that took longer than expected. Oh well. Now for the monster roles, once again, generation by generation. First 2 generations first, because Gravios is an adult Basarios, and Basarios is already a Gatecrasher in the Rampage, Gravios is definitely Gatecrasher bound. But if this is a nasty sight, then this is even worse. Then for Yankutku, he is very likely to be a Stalker, since he has no real airborne attacks. Now for Gen 2, Bulldrum is a bit of a toss-up because he only has 2 attacks, so he could either be a Stalker or a Gatecrasher, but I think the latter is more likely. And as for Yangaruga, he would occupy a similar role as Yankutku, especially due to his similarities with Rathian, who is already a Stalker. However, these 2 monsters also have a chance of being targeters, given the changes made to Akasan for the purpose of the Rampage, but we'll just have to see. For Generation 3, Great Jaggy would be a stalker due to all of the similarities with Izuchi and Rogi. Lagiacrus, due to similarities with Almudron and Mizitsune, would also be a stalker. But because Ignactor would be the only Leviathan in the game with no association with water should he make the cut, its likely role would be different, maybe Gatecrasher. But we have still yet to talk about the 3 Brute Wyverns, Duramboros, Deviljho, and Brachydios, all 3 of which are likely to be Gatecrashers due to their bulk and similar behavior to Anjanath. But Brachy also has a chance of being a stalker due to his unique skeleton. For the 4th generation, Great Mikau would also be a stalker due to similarities with the other 3 aforementioned Great Monsters. Tetsukabra and Zamtrios would most likely be Gatecrashers due to being bulky amphibians like Tetranodon. Quetzalcoatl would be a stalker due to his similar behavior with Bishaten, but if this is the case, please do not make it so he endlessly and relentlessly chases you around the stronghold. Seregios would be a targeter because he primarily would stay in the air, very similarly to Basilgeuse. Najaralna, on the other hand, is the single hardest monster to determine the roll-up. He's absolutely massive in stature and doesn't move around that aggressively, and also has no ranged attacks other than flinging explosive skills from ground level. So a targeter is out of the question here. Most likely outcome is Gatecrasher due to his relatively sluggish movement and massive body, so I guess this is the best bet here. Now as for the remaining Fated 4 members, Glavenus could be either Stalker or Gatecrasher, but with a similar dilemma as Brachydios. Gammoth would easily be a Gatecrasher due to her bulk, and Astalos would be a targeter due to having a lot of flying attacks. Lastly, for Generation 5, Great Jagras, Great Gyros, and Dodogama would all have the same role, but because they are Fanged Wyverns, and not Bird Wyverns like the other Great Monsters, they could be either Stalkers or Gatecrashers. Palumu and Legiona are easy contenders for targeters because they spend a ton of time in the air, and Odogaron is another easy contender for Stalker due to his overly aggressive and savage behavior. Bombaro is an easy contender for Gatecrasher, but Beatotus is the one monster that may not have any role in the Rampage. Girototus wasn't in the Rampage due to his weird skeleton, so I wouldn't really be surprised if Bayo didn't make it either. Now I would like to discuss monsters that I purposefully waited to talk about until now, because they would have very different roles than the others. First up, Kuropeko. My idea for him would be for him to act as a targeter, using fireball attacks just like Aknasan. However, if he is not successfully repelled after 45 seconds, he would call a random monster from the roster that is not a part of the current Rampage horde. This screenshot and text should give you the basic idea. Let me leave it up for a second. And now we... Oh yeah. I kind of forgot about Gormagala. But anyway, due to him playing a huge role in 4 Ultimate just like Magnamalo does in Rise, he would have the same role as Magnamalo, acting as a pseudo-apex monster who, if not dealt with quickly enough, would deal a massive amount of damage to the gate. And of course, the Elder Dragons. Just like Gormagala and Magnamalo, they would have a similar role to them, acting as a near apex monster, but not usually as a major threat. I'm talking about all 9 of them. Emilios, Bishaladora, Teostra, Crimsicle Valstrax, Nergigante, Valhazak, Velkana, Namiel, and Shagurumagala. All 11 monsters that I've just talked about would have a random chance to show up in the second horde of any Rampage, like Magnamalo, which can show up in any Rampage labeled with a red title and indicated by a bonus mission popping up, tasking you with repelling that said monster, awarding bonus points if successful. I want to really briefly talk about any monsters that already exist in the roster but are not in the Rampage. I can kind of see the reason as to why not every monster is in the Rampage, but I also really don't see why not. I just think adding more variety is a good thing. And for any subspecies that I talked about both in my last video and subspecies that I will talk about in my next video, they would occupy the same role as their base monster, just so we can maintain a level of consistency. Phew, that was a long one. I hope it wasn't too long for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. This is the last major part of this list that I wanted to do, but now I want to make one more video talking about the new subspecies for Sunbreak, because I have a lot of good ideas and I really want to talk about them before it becomes too late. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and if you don't want to miss next videos that I upload, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out. Other than personal information, I'm open to answer any questions or reply to comments that you guys may have, but just be nice about it. And of course, feel free to tell me your ideas for new subspecies, and if I like it, I'll heart your comment and feature it in a future video. That's all for me in this series. Tune in later this month for 12 new ideas for subspecies. See you then.